Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another Classic Comics live stream. Been a couple of weeks. I was busy for a little while with National Guard and a couple of things, but hey, back now. So let's go ahead and get into this. Hold on. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so I guess where we ought to start is with the Marvels, which opened this week. And by the way, my review of the Marvels is up on my channel. I hope you will check that out. But it's not doing too well. Surprise, surprise. Again, as box office projections were kind of predicting, it's having a pretty bad opening. We'll start with the Hollywood Reporter. So let me go ahead and bring that up here. Where is it? There it is. Okay. All right. So, box office bomb. The Marvels opens to 47 million in new low for Marvel Studios, and this is actually even lower than the Flash, and that's bad. That is bad. The sequel also faltered overseas, where it debuted to 63.3 million for a global start of 110 million compared to nearly 190 million for Captain Marvel in 2019. The Marvel's box office debut is anything but marvelous. From Marvel Studios and Disney, the superhero tentpole opened to an estimated 47 million at the domestic box office, to rank as the worst start in the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It also came in behind expectations overseas, where it launched with 63.3 million from 51 material markets for a global start of 110 million against a hefty 200 million production budget. Well, it's more than that, isn't it? Because I've heard it was like 250, 270 up in that range. The Marvels makes a new low for Kevin Feige's Marvel Studio and adds fuel to the theory that superhero fatigue is a real thing as fanboys grow weary of a glut of titles and are hence far less forgiving. Marvel has been unrivaled in its success for years, with its movies collecting more than 30 billion in grosses at the worldwide box office. Until now, rival DC was the superhero studio that endured the biggest ups and downs, with a good number of its films opening to 50 million or less. In comparison, many MCU releases started with 100 million or more domestically. Okay. Where? Okay, sorry, I lost my. Okay, here it is. This summer, DC's The Flash debuted to a dismal 55 million domestically, on its way to topping out at a paltry 270.6 million globally. Word of mouth is killing the Marvels, which I'm glad to contribute to, by the way, which is only the third MCU title to receive a B cinema score from audiences after Eternals and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. A B? That's generous. The vast majority of MCU releases have earned some variation of an A. Its Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 62% is likewise on the lower end. Males made up the majority of ticket buyers, or 61%, while 45% of the grosses came from IMAX and other large format screens. All right. Yeah. Hold on just a moment here. Okay. Sorry. I had to cough. The 33rd installment in the MCU is a sequel to the 2019 Brie Larson film Captain Marvel, which opened to 153.4 million in North America, on its way to earning a massive 1.13 billion worldwide, not adjusted for inflation. That movie had a clear advantage in that it was teased in the post-credit scene of 2018's Avengers War, while its titular star was a player in 2019 Avengers Endgame. For now, 2008's Incredible Hulk held the record for the lowest domestic opening of any MCU title at 55.4 million, not adjusted for inflation. Marvel, which wasn't owned by Disney at the time, partnered with Universal for Hulk. The next lowest MCU opening belonged to Marvel Disney's Ant-Man, which started with 57.2 million domestically in 2015. In the new movie, Larson is joined by Iman Vellani, the breakout star of the Disney Plus series Ms. Marvel, as well as Teyonah Parris as the grown-up version of Captain Marvel character Monica Rambeau. The actor made her Marvel debut with WandaVision, which counted the uh, Marvel screenwriter Megan McDonnell among its writers. The Marvels is unique for a superhero film in that it stars three female leads. It was directed by Nia DaCosta, who is the first Black woman to direct a Marvel Studios movie, as well as the youngest director of an MCU film. Marvel has taken pride in fostering such indie directors as Ryan Coogler, Taika Waititi, and Chloe Zhao. The cast of the Marvels wasn't able to do any promotion or publicity because of the SAG-AFTRA strike, although Larson and her co-stars sprung into action Thursday after the strike ended. Larson appeared on The Tonight Show on Friday, while she and her co-stars surprised fans at various screenings of the movie in New York City opening weekend. Elsewhere, Universal and Blumhouse's horror sensation Five Nights at Freddy's held at number two with 9 million from 3,624 theaters for a total domestic total of 127.2 million through its third weekend. It's the top grossing horror title of 2023 to date. It is also scaring up especially huge business overseas, where it earned another 15.4 million for a foreign tally of 124.7 million and 251.9 million globally. AMC Theaters' Taylor Swift Eras Tour followed at number three in North America with an estimated 6 million from 2,848 locations for a domestic total of nearly 173 million. The specialty box office was in full swing as Oscar season continues to heat up, led by Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. And I'm not going to get into the numbers on all these, but then what's Sofia Coppola's Priscilla, Alexander Payne's The Holdovers, Sony and Affirm's faith-based Journey to Bethlehem opened at number 7. Okay, so yeah, not doing too well. A very, I think in the biz we call this a soft opening, and it's no real surprise. Uh, I do think that the superhero fatigue thing is real. I also think that again, it's just I think the brand is getting damaged at this. I've said this about DC for a while that any movies they put out now are going to have an uphill fight to gain an audience because they put out so much material that disappointed that the brand is damaged now and people are almost leery of it. And I think Marvel is getting to that point as well. Now let's take a look at some of the reviews over on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see what they have to say over there. Okay, let me bring that up. All right. Is that coming? Yeah, there it is. All right. So critics score 62%, audience score 84%. Sure. Uh, what do we look at first? I guess we'll take a look at the critics right quick. So what do we got here? Let me bring this up. Josh Larson, I'm sure no relation to Brie Larson, right? Larson on film. Don't pull the plug on the MCU just yet. Michael Cook, KLRTTV. This is a mediocre Marvel movie at best. The script is bland. The villain is boring. After you leave the theater in 5 minutes, you wonder, now what did I just see? You forget it that quickly. It's that forgettable. Let's see. Perry Nemiroff, top critic. The Marvels is a vibrant and well-paced film. Well-paced. Okay. Film that's packed with extremely well photographed and choreographed action. It's also brimming with cast chemistry. Yeah, sure. And rocks a narrative that builds the team and the characters as individuals. Okay. Well, I think you saw a different movie than the one I saw, but hey, that's just me. Okay. What else have we got here? Andrea Chase, killer movie reviews. Starts at 11 and stays there. It's exhausting. So is the script that is curiously both overplotted yet underwritten, and a tone that blithely leaps from high stakes drama to not quite camp enough to save it. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that's been an issue for the Marvel films, is they've got these stories where it's like there's the whole world or the whole universe is at stake and all that, and then they'll suddenly go to some joke, some goofy joke or some weird snarky humor, and it's just gotten overplayed. It's just so overdone at this point. John Urbanchik, J Movies. The only lasting memorable highlight of all this genuine girl power becomes the voice of Barbara Streisand singing "Memory" to a screen full of cavorting cats. Uh, Akil Aurora. Sure, there's spurts of enjoyable banter between this new trio, but there's alarmingly little dramatic material to make a substantial film. Alachia Queen. Instead of teen wannabe Avenger joining a big girl movie, the Marvels instead has Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau turn into Queen Dribble. This movie turns off one this movie turns one of its most powerful heroes into a literal Disney princess. Yeah, I had that thought when I saw the movie, and when she's on the musical planet and she has a little song and dance number with that prince character. I just thought it'd be okay, this is obviously supposed to be imitating Disney princesses. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the audience score. Okay. All right, here we go. Uh, a lot of positive reviews. I'll give them that. Dave, the plot was all over the place. The terrible attempts at creating a deeper lore for all three of the Marvels was impressively disappointing and felt rushed. Métis A. For the past few years, I've found myself bored with the Marvel Universe. My partner likes these films, so I go along. I found this film to be very funny. It was laugh out loud funny, although there is plenty of action. It doesn't drag on forever. The balance of character works well from the youthful enthusiasm of Ms. Marvel to the restrained Captain Marvel to the highly intelligent but emotionally vulnerable Monica. I can easily recommend the Marvels as a fun time with a great dose of female energy. And again, that's she says, "Oh, it was funny. It was laugh out loud funny." Yeah, and along the way, you've got, like, multiple planets. You've got, like, multiple planets being destroyed and presumably millions dying. But it's funny, though. It's so funny. Austin, childish at times and hard to sit through, should have been straight to TV. Captain Marvel has failed in all movies. And I gotta say, there's a lot of positive reviews here, which is interesting since it's flopping so hard. It's kinda suspicious, one thinks. I'm having trouble finding a negative one. Rose M, boring compared to other Marvel movies. And all these people are giving it 4 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, 4.5 stars. I mean, I just don't buy that. It's not that good a movie. Alright. Let's go ahead and move on here. Now, moving on to other things you may have heard, the actors' strike has ended. All right. And this is from the Hollywood Reporter. Actors hit the town to celebrate the end of SAG-AFTRA strike. Spirits were high Wednesday evening as SAG-AFTRA members gathered at All Season Brewing in Los Angeles to toast the union reaching a tentative agreement on a new 3-year contract with studios and streamers and the end of the 118-day actors strike. Party organizers Party organizers said they chose the brewery due to its proximity to SAG-AFTRA headquarters, where just a few hours earlier, the union's negotiating committee approved the agreement in a unanimous vote. Actors erupted in cheers when negotiating committee members, including Francis Fisher, Sherry Belafonte, and Avis Boone, arrived and joined the celebration after Wednesday's vote and a marathon 10-hour session Tuesday. Fisher, Belafonte, and Boone told The Hollywood Reporter they're relieved and excited following the end of the strike, and they shed some light on the tentative deal. Not just one thing, it's the whole package, Fisher told THR regarding what she's most proud of the negotiating committee achieving in the deal. Quote, it's the whole thing combined, just like our membership. There are so many different categories that we wanted to get something for everybody, and we did, unquote. I think there are many things that were happening in the past that got overlooked for so many years, added Belafonte, not because there wasn't a lot of strength behind it. It was just a different membership that came up to the forefront, and certainly a different leader. SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher was unstoppable, and she rallied the troops. And while there had been some division in the past, that just faded away. Everybody came to the plate. The negotiating members also praised the SAG-AFTRA members who showed their support for the strike on the picket lines for the past 118 days. They were the backbone of this whole thing, said Belafonte. Even though we as members were in negotiations, obviously getting the best deal that we could, it was hearing their voices, as you can hear tonight, that kept us strong too. And our strike captains in LA and our strike captains in New York, added Boone. We could not have done this without the solidarity, the support, and the love that we felt from the picket lines. Numerous strike captains were in attendance at the celebration, and they expressed their mutual gratitude for the negotiating committee as well as their fellow actors. It's surreal, said Chelsea Schwartz, a strike captain at Amazon, about the work stoppage finally coming to an end. If people are offered to go back to work tomorrow, we could be back at work tomorrow, and it's crazy to think about that. I'm very happy. I'm excited to be celebrating with everybody tonight. I'm really proud of my negotiating committee. We were out on those lines every single day, said Brendan Bradley, a strike captain at Paramount. This is a new chapter for union literacy and advocacy, and I think we're going to bring that into the next chapter of Hollywood. Artificial intelligence, streaming residuals, and base salary increases are among the deal points that SAG-AFTRA members in attendance at All Seasons Brewing on Wednesday evening said they're most curious about seeing in the tentative agreement. The strike will end at 12:01 a.m. Thursday, and the deal will go to the union's national board for approval Friday. So I'm not sure if the details have been released yet. I don't think the details on the agreement have been made public. It'll be interesting when that happens to see if they really have gotten everything that they claim they got. Because I mean, they're painting a very bright, sunny picture on it all, but it's hard to believe that the studios just caved and gave them everything they want. If they were going to do that, it seems like this would have been over sooner. But hey, nothing good, nothing good lasts forever. I guess it had to end eventually. All right. What do we got next here? Okay. Got a couple of other Marvel related things here, and then we'll move on to some other subjects. Let me bring that. Come on. Okay, here we go. And this is from Bounding into Comics. Marvel shuffles upcoming film slate again. A Deadpool 3, Captain America, Brave New World, Blade, and Thunderbolt bolts all delayed. In yet another blow to the franchise's already shaky future, Disney has announced that they will once again be undertaking a delay of their upcoming Marvel releases, this time pushing their entire in production lineup of Deadpool 3, Captain America Brave New World, Blade, and Thunderbolts back from their originally slated premiere dates. According to Disney's updated schedule, where once he and Hugh Jackman's version of Wolverine were set to make their MCU debut on May 3rd, 2024, Their multiversal adventure will now hit the big screen roughly 2 or I guess that's 2 or 3 months later on July 26th, 2024. Notably, prior to this latest shakeup, this highly coveted summer release date was reserved for Captain America: Brave New World. However, thanks to this scheduling update, the all new, all different Captain America will now make his play for audiences' hearts on February 14th, 2025. Oh, okay. So, and again, February, that's Black History Month. So, I guess what they're going to do is they're going to do what they did with the first Black Panther film. Of course, that was a big hit for them. And I think part of that was because, it coincided with Black History Month. And I think they had what they say in the biz, synergy from that. And so my guess is they're going to try and do that with Captain America 4 as well, which makes sense. I mean, it's not a bad move. To this end, rather than drop two of their tentpole films on the same day, Marvel has also delayed their previous scheduled Valentine's Day release, Blade. Blade was going to be on Valentine's Day. Hilarious. Likewise, with his former spot now occupying a dangerously close date to Captain America: Brave New World, the Daywalker's reintroduction to the silver screen has been pushed back to November 7th, 2025. An admittedly bizarre move, as this date misses the thematically appropriate Halloween season by just a week. Yeah, that's a good point. Finally, though directly unrelated to the results of the above described triple movie switcheroo, the general schedule delay caused by these scheduling moves has led Marvel to push their Thunderbolts redemption story by 6 months from their original December 20th, 24 date to July 25th, 2025. Interestingly, the House of Mouse's rescheduling also saw them outright and remove two unannounced films from their lineup, actions ostensibly taken in order to free up Thunderbolts and Blade's new respective release dates. Further, Marvel was not the only Disney arm to announce such delays, as its core film production studio also announced that their Lion King sequel slash prequel, Mufasa, will no longer premiere on July 5th, 2024, but rather December 20th, 2024. And while not a Disney nor Marvel production proper, Sony's third entry in their Venom franchise has also been pushed back from July 14th, 24 to November 8th of that year. As of writing, neither Disney nor Marvel have provided any outright statement regarding the exact reasoning behind these delays. However, as noted by multiple trade outlets, including Deadline and Variety, the superhero shuffling is likely the result of the studios being realistic about how much work is left to be done on their individual projects following the conclusion of the SAG-AFTRA strike. Now, it seems like I remember hearing somewhere that there were some test showings of Captain America 4, and it didn't do well. And they're planning extensive reshoots, and that's kinda at least partly what necessitated pushing it back. I admittedly, I don't know how much truth there is in that. That's just something I think I heard in a video. But the interesting thing, if I got that right, so Captain America in February of 2025, and then Blade gets pushed back to November. So they're gonna skip. So there's no Marvel films coming out in the summer of 2025. Is that right? That seems to be the way it looks, which is surprising. And of course, they're pushing everything back from 2024. So we're looking at 2 summers with no Marvel films, which is surprising because aside from COVID, I mean, when was the last time we had a summer without a Marvel film? Obviously 2020. I don't think they didn't, right? I think they pushed all their films back. Uh, I don't know. It's not surprising, and again, I do think that the strikes played a large role in it. I'm just, I don't know. I don't have much enthusiasm for these films. Captain America at least looks to be interesting, but I don't know. We're so vague on what the plot is and everything. I'm not sure what to make of it. Blade, you would think Blade would be good. Thunderbolts. I don't know, man. I'm just not that excited about Thunderbolts. Maybe I should be, but just not feeling that much enthusiasm for it. All right. What do we got next? All right. So here's another one. Now, of course, there's been lots of rumors about rebooting the MCU, bringing back Robert Downey Jr. and bringing back Chris Evans, reuniting the original Avengers lineup as a way to kind of staunch the bleeding, from their box office returns. And again, this is bounding into comics. Kevin Feige denies having discussions about Robert Downey Jr. returning as Iron Man. Okay. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige refuted a recent report that the company was having discussions about Robert Downey Jr. returning to the role of Iron Man. A report from Variety's Tatiana Siegel claimed that the company would be bringing back original Avengers characters for an upcoming movie. Siegel reported sources say there have been talks to bring back the original gang for an Avengers movie. This would include reviving Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man and Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, both of whom were killed off in Endgame. She added, but the studio hasn't yet committed to the idea. If it were able to bring those actors back, it wouldn't come cheap. Sources say Robert Downey Jr.'s upfront salary for Iron Man 3 was around 25 million. Yeah, I mean, he'll want I remember seems like I remember hearing that Harrison Ford, when he came back to play Han Solo, he got 30 million to do that. And I would imagine that RDJ, if he comes back to play Iron Man, he'll want at least that much. And of course, he'll want more on the back end as well, in residuals. Not only did Siegel report there were discussions to have Robert Downey Jr. and Johansson return, among others, a recent report from Scooper My Time to Shine H claimed that Robert Downey Jr. was already in the cards. The Scooper noted at the beginning of November, RDGA already agreed to come back. And here you have it here. Don't know where this person gets their information from. MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios author Joanna Robinson also alleged during an appearance on the Watch podcast, quote, well, that's what Secret Wars probably is. I think that's exactly what Secret Wars is. We have a quote from Kevin Feige sort of applying as much. That, like Secret Wars, will serve as a soft reboot in which they can prune everything that's not working and just keep what is, or bring back people you thought were gone forever. Unquote. She added, if Chris Evans is like, you know what? My post Captain America career is not going the way I want it to. I want to come back and pick up the shield. Or Downey's like, what is too much money? Exactly. What is too much money, really? Feige addressed these reports and rumors, telling Entertainment Tonight's Ash Crossan, Fallen Avengers returning. Is that a new rumor? I've literally not even seen that. Is that a new rumor? Crossan then explained, yeah, it was one of the things that was talked about at this retreat where Scarlett Johansson and Robert Downey Jr. possibly returning at some point. Mikey then replied, we did not discuss at the retreat. Wait, we did not discuss at the retreat is the truth. We're doing a project with Scarlett. I love Robert. He's part of the family. But in terms of them returning, we'll have to see. Okay, well, he's not denying it then. He's not, okay, well, then this is I don't know. I think that headline's a little misleading. He denied having discussions. I mean, did he really deny having discussions? He basically says, what does he say? It's okay. So Feige basically says, is that a rumor? I hadn't even heard that. And then he says, we did just not discuss at the retreat. Okay, well, I guess he is saying that. We didn't have discussions about that at the retreat. And he says, we are working with Scarlett. And he says, as far as I love Robert in terms of returning, we'll have to see. So, I mean, he's not really denying it or saying it won't happen. He's just basically saying, oh, no, we didn't talk about that, which, who knows if that's even true. Marvel Studios producer Steven Broussard previously claimed back in February that Downey Jr. was off the table. He told Gizmodo, "Well, I think one of the meta narratives of Phase 4 was about new characters. It was about new people stepping into mantles. If you look at Cassie Lang in Quantumania getting a suit, and Kate Bishop and Hawkeye, new characters being introduced like Jack and Werewolf by Night." He then shared, "After these first 10 years of Marvel storytelling, torches are being passed, like with Robert Downey Jr. no longer being on the table and stuff like that." So it was kind of like a new generation stepping to the forefront, which again has always happened in the comics. Downey also indicated that he was done with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He told GQ in 2021, "I have alighted for now. Real world to save, but never say never." So, I mean, he's not really saying he's done. He's saying, "I'm done for now," which of course means I could be back. Man, look at him. I swear that guy looks like he has aged 15 years since Endgame. I think he's not dyeing his hair so much anymore, and I've heard he's on like a strictly vegan diet now. He looks like a he looks like a withered husk of himself. Right. He previously told Digital Spy in 2019, "We had to get off. We opted to, and we knew it was part of the job to get off the bus while it rolled on to other destinations. There's something very sobering about it. I'm glad he and I will be there to welcome others as they retire their jerseys," Downey Jr. added. I guess he means Chris Evans when he says that. Interestingly, throwing a wrench on all of this is a testimony from a U.S. Customs and Border Protection employee claiming that Robert Downey Jr. was on the set of Captain America: Brave New World in Washington, D.C. back in July. Okay, well, that's true. I mean, maybe that's true. But, actors do visit that sometime. It may have been that he was just in DC for something else or nearby for something else, and he swung by to visit the set and say hello to some people, say hello to the crew or something like that because there were people there he knew. That's a possibility. Nawara Shora posted to LinkedIn, "They are filming Captain America 4 around the White House near my office. I was on a quick errand walk as I noticed all the lights and equipment and finally asked one of the security folks about it. He was so talkative and nice and said, spoiler, Robert Downey Jr. was there last night and they were driving all sorts of supercars. We had a good talk and some laughs. I kept hoping for some producer to walk up to me and demand, you have to play my next superhero." He then shared a photo of what he encountered from the production on the streets. Photo is a sample of what's all over the streets. Okay, so it looks like some kind of lighting unit. So, it's interesting. I mean, there are so many rumors going around about this, and honestly, with the way they've struggled at the box office, it would not be surprising if they are at least considering that. Whether it's a done deal or not, I don't know. My guess is that, certainly the Marvels, if the Marvels flops as hard as it seems to be, then that would certainly add fuel to that fire. Question will be, I think that Cap 4 movie will be a big thing. If that comes out and that fails, that would probably be much more likely to give them a sense of urgency. Because obviously Captain America, Thor, Iron Man were really kind of the tentpole characters for the previous phases, and they've already all but wrecked Thor anyway. And Thor, in all likelihood, has what, maybe one more movie, I think. I forget, but after that whole thing where it was revealed that he has the gene for Alzheimer's or whatever, that Chris Hemsworth was kind of like, I don't know how many more of these I'm gonna do. And it seemed to be like he was like, maybe do one more or something. So, when you think about the original Avengers now, so Robert Downey Jr. gone with Tony dead, Black Widow dead, Cap isn't technically dead, but obviously out of action. Um, and then Hawkeye, well, obviously, Jeremy Renner, he's still messed up, I think, from his accident. I saw somewhere that he's, I think, going through therapy and it's not going well, something like that. So really from the original Avengers, you got Thor and the Hulk, who have both really kind of been ruined. Particularly because with the Hulk, I mean, if you bring the Hulk back, okay, you're gonna have to address that kid, the son that they introduced in She-Hulk, who popped up out of literally out of nowhere. How are you gonna deal with that? And of course, they've made Thor into a complete buffoon. Uh, and, and they really thought, I guess they really thought they were gonna go forward with Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, and Black Panther being the lead characters. Now, Spider-Man, obviously, I understand. Black Panther, I got it, but obviously Chadwick Boseman passing away tragically, and then them not recasting threw a monkey wrench in that plan. And then you've got Captain Marvel, which as we're seeing with the Marvels, isn't that big a draw. So they're definitely going to need to reconsider. All right. What I got? 36. Okay. We'll move on from Marvel. Let's do a couple of DC related things here. Uh, okay. Let's talk about our old friend Ezra. Let me bring that up. And this is something I think kind of went fairly uncommented at the time. This is actually an old story, and I think I was going to cover it in one live stream, but the stream ran out. And then by the time I think it was right before I was gone for a week, and then when he came back, it was just like, I didn't get back to it. But and this is from InsideTheMagic.net. Ezra Miller goes the way of Johnny Depp, reportedly fired by Warner Brothers. Recently, Warner Brothers has found itself in a bit of a pickle in regard to talent. The studio has taken intense heat for firing Johnny Depp from his role as Gellert Grindelwald in the Harry Potter Fantastic Beasts spin-off series, while seemingly allowing Amber Heard to continue as Mara in the Aquaman franchise. And now they have to decide what to do about the Ezra Miller debacle. Miller is best known for his work as the Flash in Warner Brothers' DC Expanded Universe, the role he first played in Justice League in 2017. Well, actually, he first appeared in Superman versus Batman briefly in a cameo. The 29-year-old actor has faced a variety of legal issues recently, including being accused of battery, including throwing a chair at a woman multiple times while on vacation in Hawaii. Now, Miller is evading law enforcement's efforts to serve him after disappearing with a young woman, now 18, whose parents claim the non-binary star has been grooming their daughter since she was 12. A release of Miller's upcoming DCU solo film, The Flash, is now the heart of the controversy surrounding the star, and it seems that Warner Brothers may have finally decided to take a stand and remove Miller from future DC movie and TV projects. It is unknown, however, if it is even possible to recast Miller this late in the game in regard to the film, so the studio will have to make some tough choices on that front. One option is to relegate the film to an HBO Max streaming release, which also undoubtedly cut into profits, but would result in a more low-key press tour and no red carpet events. Zaslav has been vocal about his hope to make the DCU as successful as Kevin Feige's Marvel Cinematic Universe at Marvel Studios. The Flash, in fact, is set to include the return of Michael Keaton as Batman, along with a reprise by Ben Affleck, a $200 million budget, and a hot director in Andy Muschietti, who delivered the blockbuster It for the studio. At this time, however, the Ezra Miller problem is dampening the future success of all expanded DC Universe projects until a firm decision is made about how to handle the stars offset issues. Yeah, well, I mean, they're gonna have to fire him. They're gonna have to move on. And I'm surprised it hasn't been made official already, but it'll probably never be officially recognized. Just they'll just shuffle him off the stage and just kind of ignore it and pretend it's not happening. Is probably how this is gonna go. Okay, and let's move on to another DC subject. All right, and this is the Hollywood Reporter. End of the CW's DC era. Superman and Lois to conclude with season 4. It's the end of an era as Superman and Lois will make one final flight on the CW. The Next Star backed broadcast network on Thursday announced that the upcoming fourth season of the DC Comics drama from executive producer Greg Berlanti will be its final run. The 10-episode final season, starring Tyler Hoechlin and Elizabeth Tulloch, will air sometime in 2024. Over the last three seasons, Superman and Lois redefined both the superhero genre and family drama as Tyler, Elizabeth, and the entire cast effortlessly portrayed these characters with new layers of depth and complexity that had never been explored in the Superman universe, said Brad Schwartz, president of entertainment at the CW. We are grateful for the years of hard work and graceful storytelling from the show's writers, producers, actors, and crew, as well as our terrific partners at Warner Brothers Television and Berlanti Productions. As Superman embarks on his final flight, the team is leaving us with an absolutely epic 10-episode, much must-watch every minute farewell to one of the most legendary CW families ever. The decision to conclude the superhero drama comes as producers Warner Brothers TV is clearing the decks of its DC comic shows that fall outside of the universe currently being constructed by James Gunn. Berlanti, who launched the CW back into the superhero space with the Arrow universe of shows, laid the foundation for what became a full slate of shows that helped redefine the CW under former CEO Mark Pedowitz. Superman and Lois is the last of the Berlanti-produced DC Comics roster that previously included Gotham Knights, Batwoman, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, The Flash, Black Lightning, Stargirl, and made for streaming shows Titans, Doom Patrol, and Constantine, which originated on the now defunct DC universe before migrating to Max. Gunn and Peter Safran were installed last year as co-heads at DC Studios and are allowing the Marvel or following the Marvel blueprint of unifying its film and TV titles into one shared universe, an opportunity that was off limits to Berlanti during his tenure with DC. Gunn and Safran are readying a Superman movie that the former will direct with David Corenswet as Clark Kent and Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. Other DC characters played by Cholo Madruena, I always screw this up, by Cholo Maraduena and Viola Davis and John Cena will continue in the shared universe. The DC Studios' previous regime will end in December with the feature Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. As for the CW, after Nexstar took on oversight of the CW from CBS Studios and Warner Brothers TV, more than a year ago, the company has effectively gutted its US produced scripted originals. Only four shows remain on the network's slate that were developed under Pedowitz: Superman and Lois, All American, and its Homecoming spinoff, as well as Walker. Premiere dates have not been determined, given the ongoing SAG-AFTRA strike. While we're sad to say goodbye to Superman and Lois at the end of season four, we're grateful for the time we've had with our amazing cast, crew, VX teams, editors, musical geniuses, and writers. Since the day the show was first discussed, it was about family. And that's what was created on and off screen, said executive producers and co showrunners Todd Helbing and Brent Fletcher. We'd like to thank our partners at Berlin Productions, DCWB, and the CW for their endless support and enthusiasm during this journey. Give a very special thank you to all the fans for tuning in. We're thrilled about what we have in store in our final season and can't wait for everyone to watch as Superman, Lois, and all our heroes face off against the biggest threat in the show's history, Lex Luthor. Superman and Lois, like the three other holdover CW shows, underwent budget cuts as Nexstar attempts to make the network profitable for the first time in its history. Oh, wow. It's worth noting that the network was created by both studios as a way to monetize content internationally and via streaming deals, with both revenue streams having since been cut off as CBS and Warner Brothers focus on their in-house streamers and keep SVOD and international rights for themselves. The series cut the number of writers currently employed and has reduced its budget by focusing more on family and less on action scenes that require expensive visual effects. Yeah, I guess that's it. So yeah, I mean, it is into an era. The whole Berlanti verse on the CW was, I think it's fair to say, a mixed bag, to say the least. Generally, it seems like, they tend to well, I don't know about all of them, but the good shows, I would say particularly Arrow and The Flash kind of followed a similar pattern where, the first couple of seasons pretty good, but then, wokeness just kept getting injected. And it wasn't just wokeness, but it was just like soap opera romance type crap. I said before, I think I did a video on this where I talked about how, we can talk about how wokeness and feminism have been injected into these superhero properties, but really it's been going on for a while where these superhero shows were basically turned into soap operas. And I kind of think it kind of started with Lois and Clark, the show back in the 90s with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher, because if you recall when that show was put out, it was very expressly stated that the focus was going to be on the relationship between Clark and Lois, and that was really going to be the main focus of the show. If I recall right, what the plan was, they were kind of trying to copy Moonlight. It was like basically a cross between Superman and Moonlighting or something like that. And I think, I mean, I like that show. Okay, I never loved it, but then with Smallville, it's like they went full blown just soap opera. And you can even tell with the way the casts grew over the years. It became less about the superhero and about him having adventures and fighting villains and stuff like that, and stopping crime, and more about, who's in a relationship with who's dating who, and as Nerd Roddick would say, feelings in hallways, people sitting around talking about their feelings and fretting about, is this person still like me? And people getting shipped, and stuff like that. And the CW really continued that kind of stuff. And after a while, it just became too much. And that's even setting aside the whole feminism and CRT and wokeness being injected in and all that. There were some good stuff. I think that, like I said, the first couple of seasons of Arrow are actually pretty damn good. First couple of seasons of Flash are pretty good. The first season of Legends of Tomorrow is pretty good, I think. I think the second one's okay too. But I don't know, man, that is kinda it. After that, it just becomes a mess. And let me think, am I overlooking anything? What else do we have? Gotham Knights, I never watched that. Batwoman, yeah, that was just, like, comically inept. Supergirl, never really got into that. So, yeah, I mean, couple of seasons of Arrow, couple of seasons of Flash, and maybe a couple of seasons of Legends of Tomorrow. Doom Patrol was okay, but again, those were on streaming. Titans, Doom Patrol, and Constantine were on streaming, so I don't know if I'm really counting them. Okay, so what are we at? We're at 7:48 here. Okay, and I got one more Warner Brothers and DC related story here. Let me go ahead and bring that up. Okay, and again, this is from Bounding into Comics. Report. Warner Brothers employees believe studio will be sold within next 2 years, appears to lend credence to previous rumors. A new report claims that Warner Brothers will be sold within the next 2 years, making upcoming DC subplots feel quaint. This new report comes from Variety's Tatiana Siegel, who states some on the lot are convinced that another company, most likely Universal, will buy Warner Brothers within 2 years, making recent DC subplots and upheavals feel quaint. She goes on to cite Wall Street analyst and venture capitalist Rich Greenfield, who informed her, quote, the bottom line is they need to get DC to work whether Zaslav owns it, whether Brian Roberts owns it, or whether somebody else owns it, unquote. Interestingly, Variety's report lends credence to a rumor from YouTuber Sil Abdul, who shared back in July that James Gunn's upcoming Superman legacy is a way of, quote, showcasing DC World to a potential buyer, unquote. He wrote on X, quote, James Gunn originally aimed for Superman Legacy to simply be a Superman story, but it still is, but the inclusion of this already full DC world backdrop seems to have been pushed by Zaslav, unquote. Abdul added, this film is Zaslav's way of showcasing the DC world to a potential buyer. He continued, this last sentence will ring some bells for our readers who may recall a sale of DC was predicted years ago. In a follow-up video, Abdul detailed, quote, James Gunn, to his credit, was trying to do, and I don't want to say a simple Superman story, but it wasn't going to be a DC-filled world to the extent that we're going to get. This was Zaslav's call to put in more DC characters, unquote. James Gunn, his approach was always going to try to go the Bruce Timm route. Justice League Unlimited, that's what I was told because of all the wide range of characters. Went on to add, they put out that whole slate for you as far as DC Studios to try to give you something to look forward to. But really, it's about later in the video, he added that Superman Legacy and the Bat Family film, The Brave and the Bold, that is expected to be filmed or helmed by the Flash director Andy Muschietti, are the company's quote two shots to showcase DC Studios, likely for Universal before the sale. Abdul would also react to the recent report from Variety, sharing, quote, more buzz regarding the eventual sale of Warner Brothers Discovery timetable. Still the same as I've been reporting, they will attempt to showcase the DC soft rebooted brand for potential buyers. And I guess what this really is talking about is all the characters we keep hearing rumors about are going to appear in the Superman film, like the Authority. And I'm forgetting what all the others now are now, but for a while now, we've heard occasionally about other DC characters being in this movie, some who aren't even connected to Superman. It's like, why are they even in this? Just focus on making a good Superman movie, and don't worry about all the world building. But these studios, they never learn. They never learn, and they're going to try and use this film to set up half a dozen other things, and it's going to lead to probably to a muddled story and a bloated film. And that's what they did before. It's like what's the saying? History repeats itself, or history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme, or something like that. I don't know, but it's just like they've learned nothing, and they're just making the same mistakes again. Ay, all right. I think I got time for one more, and then I will call it a night. Okay, I guess which one do I want to do here? Okay, I guess I'll go with this one. All right, and again, this is from Bounding into Comics. Mark Miller suggests radical plan to save the comic book industry. So Mark Miller has been jolting the comic book industry and trying to wake them up from their stupor over the last several months while it's been slowly dying. And I have done videos recently talking about this stuff on my channel. In fact, the video, of course, my Captain Marvel review is my latest video, but the one before that, I talked about how, and actually there was an article here on Bounding into Comics where a comic shop owner, Phil Boyle was his name, who owns comic shops in Orlando, Florida, basically sounding the alarm and saying that DC and Marvel have got to change how they do business, or the comic book industry is doomed, and the direct market will be dead within 2 years. So feel free to check that out. Now, retail shops have been closing in record numbers. Other stores are voicing their frustrations that Marvel and DC don't even seem to care about their products anymore. And Miller has been out on the front lines voicing his ideas to save mainstream comics. In an X thread this Thursday, Miller expanded upon points he'd already brought up. Well, dang it, come on. He'd already brought up while on the interview circuit earlier this year on YouTube channels like Thinking Critical, laying out the business realities. Quote, I don't have any skin in this game as I've worked elsewhere for a long time, but I've got a lot of pals at Marvel and DC and hate seeing them struggling like this, Miller prefaced. He added, I offer this advice in good faith in a bid to help supercharge both freelance deals and the corporations themselves. And he has this cool George Perez art. This is art from the Superman or from the Justice League Avengers team up back around 2000. Fast to talk money, but it's also shocking that the people writing and drawing the top books are earning a fraction in all quotes, of what my peers and I earned on those titles 15 years ago. I made $1,000 a page plus royalties, but I'm hearing from guys on $90 a page, and that's criminal. Miller proceeded to point out now the comic market has collapsed in the past 5 years. Gee, I wonder why. And these companies have less money to pay staff and freelancers. What I'm proposing is really simple economics and can massively help them both get in the black again. They don't have the money at the moment to jack up their page rates, but it would cost them literally zero if they revolutionized their royalty deals. Miller elaborated. For example, right now, both companies typically pay 2% royalty on all sales over, broadly speaking, about 50,000 sales. Given that just a handful of Marvel and DC books sell over 50,000 copies a month, this means almost no royalties are paid out. The number is almost abstract, and as sales decline, this seems to be a race to the bottom in terms of talent they can afford. Yeah, I mean, it is exactly that. I think they're deliberately hiring crap creators and deliberately hiring, diverse creators, from other genres, from the YA genre and from other places because they know they can pay these people crap, because these people mostly aren't very good at what they do, and they know they're not gonna get much better anywhere else. And they want the prestige or imagined prestige, at least, of working on these famous characters. Miller would then proceed to lay out a series of ideas that could potentially help get the comic book industry back on track, proposing, my suggestion is that if one of these companies swaps that 2% royalty for a 50-50 split with the creative team on all sales over, say, 60,000 copies, they will send a bolt of electricity through the industry and bring in the most commercial freelancers in the biz again. A creator can make a decent amount of money on even a modestly selling creator-owned book, but it would be absolutely dwarfed by a 50% split on X-Men or Spider-Man, with sales taken into the stratosphere, he explained. Miller added they can make literally millions per year for both company and talent. Beauty of this is that it would cost the big two nothing as it's zero fiscal outlay up front. The double win is that they're getting 50% of a potentially huge number instead of a spiral to the depths where they are right now. Freelancers, of course, would be delighted as their earning potential would spike overnight. And as the companies balance the books again, they could start to invest in the proper page rate and much needed new talent. As is, I think the direct market is a couple of years away from complete collapse, Miller warned. Again, just like Phil Boyle said in his article. American made comics are 9% of the American market, which is insane. It needs radical surgery to fix it, and this would cost nothing. But everything's fine. Sales are great. Everything is fine. Comics are fine. There's no need to panic, no need to worry. At least that's what certain parties have been insisting for years now. He went in all or he went on, all the indie companies are hurting because nobody's coming in for Marvel or DC books anymore, adding, every day we hear about more stores closing. Before concluding, Miller noted, whoever does this first will have a talent migration like the industry has never seen. Who will get there first, Marvel or DC? My answer is neither. That it ain't happening. Giving creators skin in the game seems like a very sensible idea. It doesn't cost the companies anything up front, and top creators are incentivized to provide their best work when they can gain more off the process. As it stands now, with the page rate system, even the best creators are known to phone in a lot of their work because they aren't going to get anything on the back end with work for hire. In an effort to get the attention from the big two, Miller went further and tagged CB Cebulski and Jim Lee, Marvel's editor in chief and DC's chief creative officer, respectively. Interesting thread for you, Jim and CB Cebulski. You know, I love you both, but whoever does this first is going to see a talent migration like never before. He then encouraged, quote, "This would be massive and cost WB and Disney literally zero. Be the first." I mean, bless his heart, man. He is trying. He is trying. He's just about the only one in comics who is, and, that's sad, but there you go. This is why you see writers like Jonathan Hickman craft such beautiful stories when he works his creator-owned property East of West, as opposed to, in comparison, leaving X-Men a complete mess without even finishing the storyline when he works for Marvel. Fans are left in the dust when these sorts of situations arise with their beloved characters, making customers leave comic shops for good each time a poor job is done on Spider-Man, Batman, or any of the other major brands because they feel like the characters have been irreparably destroyed. Miller might be barking up the wrong tree and thinking that these giant corporations that own Marvel and DC even care about the current comics or have any incentive to say the direct market, as most of their revenue seems to be coming from film and video games these days anyway. The direct market floppy comics are a dying relic of a lost age of entertainment. Ah, yeah, I mean, it's kinda hard to argue with that, and I actually responded to Miller on Twitter, and what did I say? I think I said something along the lines of, I mean, that's a decent plan, Mark. There's some interesting ideas here, but, Marvel and DC have made it clear they don't care. They don't care about the comics. They don't care if the comic shops die. They don't care if the direct market dries up. They don't care, and, you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. Alright, so that's an hour, so I'll go ahead and wrap up here. I wanna thank those who will, watch during the stream, as well as those who will watch on a rewatch later, and while you're here, hey, if you haven't subbed to my channel, please do, and I will probably be back, next weekend, I guess, to stream again, so, I guess I'll see you then. Until then, have a good weekend, and I'll see you next time.